Being a member of the royal family has never been easy. To be a representative of the crown means upholding country and duty above all else. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie have endured a huge deal of media coverage and heartbreaking revelations throughout their lives.
The two of them have said that whenever something negative is written about them, they try and turn it into a positive. And I think that's a really great mindset for both those girls to have and for anyone to have.
From seeing their parents' publicised divorce to being isolated in the press, the two princesses now lead lives devoted to charity and family.
Both girls were very young when their parents divorced, but their parents were determined that they would be brought up by both parents, that they would remain very much within this very supportive, loving couple. I think one of the things that the two girls inherited from their mother is a strong sense of trying to do good for others, to get involved with charities, that they can make a difference.
With their experience of life outside of the monarchy, Beatrice and Eugenie are loved by the public for being relatable and grounded. After spending many years upholding the monarchy, Beatrice and Eugenie have continued to serve the crown through their work, public and private. Their sense of duty comes from their grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, who cherished the two princesses. But as the two princesses grew older, they had their titles constantly in doubt of being stripped away from them. When Beatrice and Eugenie were born, Prince Andrew's demanding naval job kept him from spending time with his family, leading to animosity between the young couple.
And he's not a man with a great inner life. He likes playing golf, he likes to watch videos, and frankly not much else. And this was one of the problems with the marriage with Sarah, which very quickly broke up.
She works for a Swiss printing firm on the publishing side. She's got one book out already, an illustrated account of the early exhibitions of the Impressionist painters.
It's my book, you know. I want the world to know this, you see. Because I'm definitely trying to relate that I'm a working woman. So, spelt wrong, Ferguson, BCK, Graphic Arts.
She was lonely, she was struggling to cope with royal duties, she was heavily criticised for perhaps being a little too boisterous, for being overweight, for her dress sense. And when he came home, when she wanted to do things with him, he wanted to slump in front of the TV and watch videos or do his own thing. And so there were tensions in the marriage. I think also, very quickly, they both began to have affairs, particularly Sarah. And these stories broke because pictures were found, made public of her on holiday with Steve Wyatt with her children, much to the disgust of Andrew. Here was Andrew serving abroad, and his wife was consorting with these American businessmen who were not necessarily the sort of people that she should be involved with, but particularly not having affairs with. So the Queen, I think, when these stories became public, encouraged them to separate, and they divorced a few years after that.
In 1992, they decided to officially separate. Shortly after their separation, a fresh scandal hit the royal family again. This time, Sarah was spotted with John Bryan, a Texan millionaire who was captured intimately kissing her feet. This news damaged her reputation, to the point where the late Queen Elizabeth II banned her from royal activities. Their divorce was finalised in 1996.
Prince Andrew's always been very protective of his daughters. He and Sarah have been good parents, bringing up the children even though they were divorced. But he's always felt that as a prince of the blood, his own children should have positions as working royals. And there was a lot of criticism of the two children. They were getting royal protection, security, at a huge cost, even on their gap years, for example, when there was no threat to them. They were not conducting any sort of royal duties. But he does have this very strong sense of entitlement that his family should be treated differently, without necessarily having the same sense of obligations about what he should be doing in return for this. And when the Queen agreed with Prince Charles about a slimmed-down monarchy, the idea was that it would all move down through Prince William and Prince William's children, and other members of the royal family would not, for example, appear on the balcony and would not be doing royal duties.
Beatrice and Eugenie do have an image problem. I think most people wouldn't recognise them, don't know who they are, but when they see the headlines, they think, well, why are we spending any money on these people? We shouldn't be subsidising their lifestyles when their lifestyles are basically jetting around the world, enjoying themselves.
Eugenie is a director at the London Art Gallery Hauser and Worth, an art venue showcasing both emerging and established artists, plus modern art from around the world. She also carries out royal engagements. Beatrice is a Vice President of Partnerships and Strategy at tech company Affinity. She also worked at investment firm Sandbridge Capital, and before that, had a role as an intermediate coordinating producer at Sony Pictures Entertainment.
The two girls are in some ways very different. Beatrice went on to do history at Goldsmiths and has now gone into venture capital, having had a brief post in the Foreign Office.
Princess Eugenie studied art and English at Newcastle University and has ended up working in the art world. She's worked between New York and London, and now she works at a gallery right here in London in Mayfair. Of course, she just had her second child, so she's probably taking a little bit of time off. But she said that art has always been her passion, not necessarily to be an artist, but she's loved working in the art world.
When they're not working, the royal nieces are dedicating their time to many charitable endeavours. The two princesses serve as patrons for many charities.
Princess Beatrice is currently the only royal to ever run in a marathon. She did it dressed as a caterpillar. She was wearing a neon green skirt and she was tethered to, I think, maybe 11 other people as well. And she did it for a children's charity to raise money for them.
Really excited. I'm desperate to get to the start line. I'm desperate to get going.
And she's done a number of these charitable stunts. So she climbed Mount Etna. She's very involved with charities that her mother's involved in, but also with others dealing with dyslexia, with injuries to children, the Teenage Cancer Trust.
I now am trying to find the way where my work life and my other life can sort of combine, and you know, I can spend time talking about the great work that Forget Me Not Hospice can do wherever I am and wherever I am, whatever office block I'm sitting in.
It's getting that balance right.
We're working on it.
Princess Beatrice stays in touch with what we're doing as a charity. She receives regular updates and also receives artwork and other things that the children here make and send to her, and I know that she really treasures those, and one of the reasons she's coming today is simply to spend time with children and families and understand their stories and how we're supporting them.
While Beatrice works with the Big Change Charitable Trust and the Berkshire Community Foundation, Eugenie has focused on the Coronet Theatre, Charity Water and the Tate Young Patrons. The duo also partnered with their mother to work together for the Teenage Cancer Trust. The princesses are both royal mums now.
Eugenie is the mum of two boys. Her oldest son, August, was born in 2021, and Ernest, the latest addition to the family, was born on May 30th of this year. Princess Beatrice is a stepmom to her husband's son, Wolfie, but she also has a daughter, Sienna Elizabeth, who is a year old.
Their undeniably close bond is also shared by their children now, who spend a lot of time together as the two princesses are adjusting to motherhood.
The children of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie don't have royal titles. Now, when it comes to Princess Beatrice, this is because her husband descends from Italian aristocracy, so essentially she would be a countess and her kids would get those titles, so they thought it best just to leave them. And when it comes to Eugenie's husband Jack, he wasn't given a title upon her marriage upon Princess Eugenie's marriage to Jack, he wasn't given a title. So their kids are just styled as Master or Miss, so Master Ernest and Master August. Now the only grandchildren that do have royal titles are the children of William and Kate, who are Prince and Princess, and of course the children of Prince Harry, who are Prince and Princess as well.
Eugenie has also been busy splitting her time between the UK and Portugal, making for an exciting chapter for their family. Eugenie retains a UK base at Nottingham Cottage, while Beatrice has moved away to the Cotswolds. Their beautiful farmhouse is said to have much more space and privacy than their central London home.
Princess Eugenie herself is quite climate conscious, but she has been involving her son August in that as well. At his tender age, he's very aware of climate change and aware of things of recycling and picking up litter. So she's making a concerted effort to make sure her kids are very conscious of what's happening around them.
Eugenie spends part of her time in Portugal, where Jack's business has taken him. They are still very close. They live a pretty good and privileged life, and they don't need to worry too much about money.
In addition, Andrew and Sarah live in Royal Lodge in Windsor, which is only an hour and 40-minute drive away, meaning that Beatrice will not be too far away from her parents. With the support of their parents, the two sisters have managed to overcome troubling headlines together. They are vital members of the royal family and the future of the monarchy. King Charles III has been vocal about his plans for the monarchy and wants fewer working royals in the future. With their continued service to the Commonwealth, Beatrice and Eugenie are the ideal royals for representing the crown.
In the future, perhaps Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice could take on the role of working royals, but that would mean them being paid from the sovereign grant, and people might have a problem with that because that's more spending for the royal family. If Charles is going for a slimmed down monarchy like he says, we probably won't see Beatrice and Eugenie as working royals.
Their links to numerous charities and experience with the media have made them a fan favourite, and many consider the royal nieces to be the obvious choice to be a part of the king's monarchy.
I think they've learnt in many ways from the mistakes of their parents the way to engage with the press. They're pretty astute at dealing with the press. And I think we've seen, the reputations of various members of the royal family rise and fall. And I think the reputation of Beatrice and Eugenie is on the rise. We've seen Beatrice being made a Councillor of State. She's actually quite a senior member of the royal family, and I think we're going to see them. Charles, I think, feels that they've earned their spurs, that they shouldn't be blamed for the problems of their father, and I think we're going to see a bigger role for them in the future.
Whatever the future holds, one thing is for certain. The solidarity between the sisters will hold strong through thick and thin. Steady and unwavering, just like the royal family.